Ja Morant, should the Wolves go get him? And I am going to keep this simple. No, we should not. Hey there, and welcome back to the Mini Weekend. I'm your host, Jack. Let's get into it, Mini. Wow. There's something about this Halloween pack that the smells of these sodas are a little bit different than their usual ones, which I have to say I really enjoy. So yeah, like I mentioned last week, I'm finishing up the awesome 4-pack of their Halloween bunch that we got from Northern Soda Co. Today is obviously being Potion Punch, and it's a good one. It's a good one. I wouldn't say I like it as much as I like the root beer, but I definitely like it better than it's not as good as the root beer pumpkin spice. It's not as bad as the caramel apple, but it's kind of, that candy corn one was interesting. I don't know. I'm gonna need another minute before I give you guys, a legitimate rating and everything. So, I'm sorry. For those that are new here, Northern Soda Company, where they are a Twin Cities based craft soda company specializing in these style sodas using real sugar and premium ingredients. If you have young children, I tell you this, learning from experience myself, watch out how much you give your kids. These things are loaded with a lot of sugar. They're obviously still very delicious. I'm not saying they can't enjoy a little bit, but if you go there, they have these cute little flight glasses. They're about the size of like a big shot glass, and I think something like that is perfect for the little kids, especially if you have a 3-year-old. Not that I've been there, done that. But yeah, really cool place. It's located like right off of 35E there in New Brighton. They're right in the back of like a warehouse district, so you guys got to go check them out. They have a pinball machine. They have a couple of different arcade games. Sorry about that. They have like board games, card games, all this cool different kind of stuff, and then they actually have like a cool little bar area that you can get the sodas on tap. You can get tours of the place and the whole 9 yards. It's really a cool atmosphere. You guys will love it, and I guarantee you will go back. And on top of it, they have a big area where you can make your own. Can't remember if you can make a 4-pack, but you can make your own 6-pack. You can make your own 24-pack, and then if you are interested, you can actually go to their website, northernsoda.com, and you can actually make your own and have it shipped to you now. You don't have to make it and have to go in the store, which is kind of nice too. So go check them out, show them some love. I promise you guys, you guys will enjoy it. And they have a cool little section where you can buy all different kind of merch. Like I said, they got those little flight glass things. They have actual cups. They got everything from hats, trinkets, and clothing and apparel, all that fun kind of stuff. So definitely go check them out. Let me know what you guys think. And we love them. We're definitely going to have them on more often. Let us know what some of your flavors are that you want us to try on here. With that, it's kind of got a nice kind of like fruit punch base. But then there's like it's like a sour maybe, but it's not overly tart. And the more I'm sipping on it, I kind of like it. So like I said, it's not really up there with the Rip Your Pumpkin Spice as far as I'm concerned, but I do like it for sure more than the caramel apple. And I think I like it more than the candy corn too. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put it at about 7-8. I think it's, in my opinion, kind of right smack dab, maybe a little bit closer to the candy corn in this 4-pack. All 4 of them nonetheless have a very unique and awesome flavor. And like I mentioned last week, we're doing one this week, so keep your eyes peeled. We still have our 6-pack mystery taste test that we're going to do, and we're going to do one live on TikTok with you guys by the next podcast next Wednesday. So stay tuned for that. And then lastly, before we let you guys go, like I said, go check them out. You can find them Northern Soda, and you can also find them on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. So you will not be disappointed, I promise you. And then did want to give one more shout out to another company that I love, my favorite coffee spot in the States, Caribou Coffee. So within the last week, actually on November 1st, they dropped their holiday menu that has a wide variety of new flavors, new pastries, while bringing back some fan favorites. So some of the new items that'll be headlined this year are they have an Eggs Benedict sandwich. It's Canadian bacon, cheesy hollandaise sauce, cage-free eggs on an English muffin. Getting hungry just talking about that. And then they have a new chocolate truffle brownie. It's a fudgy chocolate brownie topped with rich chocolate truffle. That sounds delicious too. And then some of their new drinks that they got this year is they got a cranberry dark chocolate espresso shaker. It's cranberry dark chocolate and fresh espresso shaken with ice and topped with a splash of oat milk. And then they have a new cranberry energy drink with coconut milk cold foam. So they got sparkling cranberry energy drink available with original or lemonade flavor, topped with coconut cold foam. And a wide variety of these are offered in hot, like I said, shakers, cold foams, and nitros. So make sure you kind of check your local one for what they got. And then some of the fan favorites that they're bringing back, they got their Ho Ho Mint Mocha, which I love, their vanilla oat nog latte, and their spicy mocha. And then the only new holiday bakery item that they are bringing back is a cranberry orange muffin flavored, which is amazing. I will tell you that. So, like I said, go check out your local Caribou Coffee. I'm guessing most of these have the brunt of everything. I'm sure the availability might just be not sure having it. The availability is probably a little bit different based on location, and they might, have more of certain flavors and stuff like that. So go check them out. You will not be disappointed. And let me know what your favorites are. So yeah, with that, we're just gonna jump right into Tommytown. So the first order of business, the men's hockey team, they're coming off of a series split with the number 18 ranked Minnesota State Mavericks, losing game 1-3, and then winning an overtime thriller 4-3 on Saturday the 1st. But before we get into that, we have some accolade to talk about, and it is that the forward for the Tommies, Alex Gaffney, was named the CCHA Forward of the Month. He led all CCHA skaters with 5 goals and 11 points in October. Obviously, CCHA released their first monthly honors of the season. For the third month in a row, a Tommy was named Forward of the Month, which is amazing. The Harvard transfer has made an instant impact with the team. Like I mentioned, adding 11 points and 5 goals in 8 games in October thus far. Both numbers lead the entire conference, and he also has 3 power play goals that lead the CCHA as well. So a huge congratulations to him. Hope this obviously keeps going for them. And then, like I said, for this last weekend on Friday, St. Thomas actually scored their first goal from Luke Leyland a little bit later in the period before the Tommies would surrender 3 straight goals, 1 being an empty netter, and all 3 coming in the third period. Was kind of a tough loss to swallow. And honestly, after a loss like that, it's got to be tough to come back and produce after a tough loss like that. But nonetheless, the Tommies made it happen after a very back and forth game that eventually saw the Mavericks within the last 2-3 minutes tie the game at 3, and then Nathan Pilling getting the game-winning goal in overtime to give the Tommies the series sweep. The first 3 goals were scored by Dylan Godbout, Ryan O'Neill, and Alex Gaffney. You guessed it. So, yeah, and it's crazy. The Tommies ended up going 0 for 8 on the power play, and the Tommies only gave up 4 power plays to Mankato. Currently sitting at 3-5-1. They're still looking for their first series sweep and back-to-back wins. So a little bit slower of a start to the season than you would ideally like, but hopefully they can make up some ground here. They have 1 game. They're off this weekend before they have 1 game in St. Paul against the St. Cloud State Huskies before going to Sioux Falls for a single game against Augustana next weekend on November 15th at 6:07. So congratulations to them, and can't wait to see how they can bounce back from that. Did a little bit of the opposite. They actually played number 2 Ohio State very, very closely in Friday night's game, losing just 2-3 to the team, to the Buckeyes, and actually had the lead twice in this game. Whitney Horton scored just within the first minute of the game before the Buckeyes would tie up the game before going into the first intermission. And then Chloe Boreen, about 13 minutes into the second period, or the third period, regained and gave the Tommies a 2-1 lead before the Buckeyes would answer about 5 minutes later on the power play. And then on Saturday, the Buckeyes took advantage of the St. Thomas Tommies and whopped them 8-0. I guess a silver lining in this one is after the first period, they were only down 1-0, but they surrendered 6 second period goals, surprisingly only 1 on the power play. Ohio State was only awarded 2 power plays, going 1 for 2 on them. And the unfortunate part for the Tommies, they had 7 power play opportunities and just weren't able to cash in on any of them, which even if they were able to cash in on 2 or 3 of them, would have made a little bit of a difference trying to plug away at this game for them. But nonetheless, again, number 2 team in the nation, they're going to be hard to beat. And the fact that they were able to play them close and pick up a point against the Buckeyes is a huge accomplishment. So a huge congratulations to them on that. Already up in Bemidji, as they will be taking on the Bemidji State Beavers tomorrow, Friday afternoon at 3 p.m. and then Saturday at 2 p.m. So congratulations. And good luck, more importantly, good luck to them in that matchup. But additionally, guys, we now have every sport to talk about on the podcast. The men and women's basketball teams kicked off these seasons this weekend, both of them on the 3rd of November. And both of them away. The men's team suffered a 58-84 loss to the St. Mary's Gales, who are receiving votes right now. Went into halftime only down 25-35 before the Gales added 49 points in the second half to the Tommies 33. And kind of looking at some of these team stats, St. Thomas didn't get a single second chance point. St. Mary's got 10. And then even the bench points, St. Thomas only had 13. The Gales had 24. And strangely enough, St. Thomas actually won the points in the points in the paint battle and the fast break points. But the Tommies just overall just didn't have a great shooting night, as they finished under 50% for the night. But nonetheless, they got a bounce back from this one. They were led in this game by Nolan Minisale, who led all scorers, 24 points, adding 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. Nick Janowiski was right behind him with 14 points, who added 1 rebound and a block. And those were the only 2 players with double-digit points. The next person that had some point was Austin Hero with 8. You had Carter Bierke, who went 1 for 6 for the night. Ben Oosterbaan was 1 of 2. Austin Hero 3 of 4. But overall, just not a great shooting night. And it looks like Minisale was trying to kind of take over the game, which you want your better players doing that, but hopefully the Tommies going forward will use more of a balanced attack to try to get some wins and try to improve after the season opener. For the men's team, they will have a 7 o'clock game in the Lee and Penny Anderson Center to kick off their future in that arena this Saturday on the 8th. And then the only other game they will have before the next podcast, they will be in Pullman, Washington to take on the Washington State. And that game will be at 8:30 on November 10th. Then as for the women's team, they dropped a sizable game to the Iowa State Cyclones, 36-85. In this one, it was really the 2 middle quarters for them that hurt them the most. In the second quarter, they were outscored 21-7, and in the third, they were outscored 22-5. And managed 12 points in the first and fourth quarters. Alyssa Sand had a great game, scoring 17 points. The only player with double-digit points for the Tommies, added 7 rebounds and a steal. And then after her, it was even a little bit worse for the team. After her, Autumn McCall had 5 points, and then you had Abby Valance, who had 4 points, Savannah Gardner and Savannah McGowan, 3 apiece. So once again, just a poor shooting night for the Tommies. They went 12 for 48 from the field and 2 for 19 from 3-point range. So obviously they were playing against a very talented team in the Iowa State Cyclones, but just something that you gotta pick yourself up from. They did have 20 turnovers to the Iowa State's 9, which I'm sure did not help. When you're playing a team that is as good as Iowa State, you honestly can't give the ball up that many times and expect to win the game. So that certainly did not help them. But once again, just like the men's team, you have to learn from these early season mistakes and just kind of nip them in the butt and hope to continue to get better as the season progresses. So yeah, a tough season opening loss, but I have no doubt in my mind both these teams can rebound and still go on and have good seasons. For the women, their lone game before the next podcast will be the season opener, home opener in the Liam Penny Anderson Arena on the 8th. Their game will be at 2 p.m. After that, they will not be in action. They'll have some time off to kind of get things right before Eastern Michigan comes to town on the 14th at 7 p.m. So good luck to the basketball teams and hope they can fix what needs to be fixed and can get on a winning streak here. Now for the football teams, I'm so glad I'm a Tommy fan and went St. Thomas and I'm not just a Gopher fan, because the Tommies laid a beat down this last week on Marist, winning by a score of 45-0. I was really hoping they'd kind of be aggressive and score at least one more point, so I could say I saw them score 50 points in 4 straight games, but a huge win nonetheless. Was able to watch most of the game, and honestly, I don't think you could have asked for a more complete and better game from the team. They took down Marist for, I didn't realize this, Caruso's 200th game with the program, which was huge. With this game, he improves to 163 and 37 all-time with the Tommies. The duo of Glenn Caruso and his associate head coach, Wally Kuczynski, have coached all 200 games together. Andy Peters recorded another 200-plus yard performance, finishing with 248 and 2 passing touchdowns. He rushed for 3 and completed 14 of 9 passes. Quentin Cobb Butler ended the game with 145 receiving yards on 5 receptions and 1 touchdown. And once again, you knew this Tommy's defense was stifling, holding the Foxes to just 9 total first downs and 182 yards of total offense. Ryan Seaver led the way with 7 tackles, while Rod Finley, Nick Hand, and Braden Smith each tallied interceptions. The Tommies took a 15-0 lead after the first quarter. Went into halftime up 35-0. So the brunt of the scoring was happening in the first quarter before the Tommies kind of took their feet off the gas just a little bit in the second half, only managing 10 points. But like I said, a really good game nonetheless by them, and I hope that they can keep on the winning ways as they will go into their matchup with Drake on a 4-game win streak, and really hope that they can kind of get things right in Iowa against Drake on the 8th at noon before having a big game against Presbyterian, because once again, I think they have a long shot to win the Pioneer Football League. Their only chance they have to get into the postseason is by beating Presbyterian kind of handedly probably, and then either playing North Dakota State to 3 points or less, or beating them and becoming a ranked team, because at this point, they're not going to win the Pioneer Football League. So who knows? Crazy things have happened, but nonetheless, it'll be a fun and good final 3 weekends for the Tommy football team, and can't wait to see what they can do these last 3 weeks. And then as for the Gophers, they made me realize I should never bet on the Gophers. My pick with them hit this last weekend, but it damn near missed, and leave it up to the Gophers to be the only team to give Michigan State a chance to freaking get their first Big Ten win, winning 24 to 20 overtime. Drake Lindsay scored a rushing touchdown to win the game. But man, was this a really hard game to watch. I mean, talk about a program and a team that plays down to the level of their opponents. I mean, this Michigan State team is 3-6, 0-6 in the Big Ten. The only wins have come against Western Michigan, who they blew out, Boston College, who they barely beat by 2. Boston College, I don't even think is that good this year. And then Youngstown State, who I believe is an FCS team, and they pounded them. And win is a win. I understand that. And with this win, they're now officially bowl eligible as they're 6-3, sitting at 4-2 in the Big Ten. And with that win, still keeps them right outside of the top third of the division. Everybody ahead of them is either undefeated in Big Ten play or only with a single loss. So yeah, it was a less than stellar game for PJ Fleck and this Gopher team, but again, a win is a win. And now they have probably I forgot they played Ohio State, their biggest test towards the end of the season here. As Oregon, we'll see them in Oregon for another prime time 8 p.m. game on the 14th and leave it up to the 14th. So they have another bye week this week. Then they will be in action next week, Friday night, but leave it to the Gophers to go out to Oregon and play them close after dang near losing to Michigan State. So crazier things have happened, but we are going to have to wait and see once again. I'm sure a lot of you have noticed me playing with my hair a little bit more recently. Do not have a hat on tonight. I chose just letter free. I was going to get into our last shout out, but realized this is the time when we come at you guys with our college football picks for the week. This last week, picks for week 11. I can't believe it's already week 11 in college football. We are coming down to the nitty gritty of the season. Went 4-1 last week. The only one that didn't hit, Rice ended up getting obliterated. But other than that, went 4-1 and now over 50%, and we are not dipping. I promise you guys, 17-16 overall for the season here, and only going to get better. So you guys may be wondering, what are your picks for us this week, Jack? Simple. I got 4 of them, just like always. On the first one, I got like Alabama and LSU to go under 50 points. Let's just be completely honest. LSU right now is currently a dumpster fire. They just fired Brian Kelly. Their offense has been sputtering recently, and if that's not bad enough, Garrett Nussmeier could be hurt for this game, and if I'm being completely honest, that guy is just ready to be gone and go to the NFL. And then on the other side, Alabama has an elite defense when they're playing at home, and it's also worth noting it's a night game in Tuscaloosa, so expect this game to be a close, low-scoring game. So give me under 50 for the Alabama-LSU game. Excuse me. Oregon, the next one I like, Oregon minus 6.5 over the Iowa Hawkeyes. I know everybody says Kinnick is a tough place to play. You come in ranked and you're going to struggle, but I don't think that's going to be the case for the Ducks. Oregon is coming off their bye week and they will be ready to roll. Dan Lanning will have these guys ready to fight and beat down the Hawkeyes. If I'm being completely honest, I think a lot of people believe this too. The Ducks are head and shoulders more talented than this Iowa team. And the last thing I wrote down for this one is, Jack, Iowa has won 5 of their last 6. I understand that, except they haven't played anybody this year outside of Indiana, and that was their lone loss. So when they play a good team, they lose. So give me Oregon minus 6.5 for my second pick. Pick number 3, I like, Arizona minus 4.5 at home against Kansas. Knowing Fafita, I think is how I pronounce his name, is one of the more underrated QBs in the Big 12 as far as I'm concerned. He can sling the ball all over the field. This Kansas defense is terrible. And on top of that, Arizona just pummeled a bad Colorado team. And I think they keep it rolling this week in week 11. So give me Alabama minus 4.5. Then the last game I like for you guys, I got Cal plus 20.5 here. I know they're on the road against Louisville, but the Cardinals will be without their star wide receiver, Isaac Brown, who was out for a while is what I've heard. This doesn't lead to good things for Louisville, as when Miller Moss is asked to do way too much like he did against Virginia, throwing the ball 48 times. And on top of that, Louisville is 3-5 against the spread. Cal will for sure cover the 20.5 points. I actually wouldn't be surprised if they outright won this game, but they will at least keep it close. So those are the 4 picks I got for you guys. And before we move on, once again, I am not a financial advisor. Do with these picks what you will. I am not liable for any losses, just like I will not come after you for any of your wins. So yeah, and then if you have any, if you think you have any problems with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER, and they will get you the help and the resources you need to get better. So that is what we have for college, our college sports here. The last shout out we got for you guys tonight is the UNRL Unreal NFL. Gosh, come on, Jeff. Volume 5, drop number 2. Pretty sleek, pretty simple. Once again, got some purple on the sleeves here. Got the nice patch. No, that's just on the pants. Not wearing the pants. So got the Vikings are pure UNRL, just like their normal track jacket. Super, super lightweight. I really love this material. Oh, it's down here. But yeah, just like all their other stuff, does not disappoint. Really comfy. And actually, I don't know if I can show you guys, but it's really cool because if you open it up, I don't know if you can see, but like the outside of the little pouch when you fold it up is white, which is pretty sleek. I know you guys are like, what the hell why are you showing us that shit? I think it's awesome. And then their matching track pants are just as cool, if not cooler. Nice fit, really awesome. And if that's not enough, guys, they are already advertising drop number 3, which is coming out before we know it. We are less than a week away, 4 days, and some odd hours to get there, coming out on the 11th. And then if that's not enough, we will have the 4th drop on the 18th before we have the Vikings exclusive whiteout edition dropping on December 9th, which seems so far away, but I promise you it's going to come by like that. So yeah, and then really quickly before we move on, my spiel for you guys, do not get it twisted. UNRL Unreal, however you pronounce it, top of the line in athleisure, sweats, sweatshirts, sweatpants, socks, hats, beanies, winter hats, anything you can think of as far as athleisure is concerned. Nice pants, nice shirts, long sleeves, workout stuff. They have it. They have an unbelievable amount of really cool collaborations. I urge you guys, if nothing else, check out their website, unrl.com. If nothing else, check out their website. And if all you do is checking out their website, I will try to tempt you guys. Use my URL to at least buy one thing and tell me it's not the most comfortable thing that you have ever worn, and you can slap me in the face. Top of the line as far as athleisure is concerned. They have a ton of amazing products, and the best part about it is if you don't end up liking it, you get a size too small, you get a size too big. Their process for exchanging stuff for a different size or returning stuff could not be easier. You email them, you tell them what's wrong with it, you tell them if you need a size bigger, a size smaller, if you just don't want it. They send you an email almost instantaneously where you print it off, you put it on, you send it back. Like, it could not be easier. There's everything about this company screams, give us your money, and we're the best. So yeah, unrl.com. You can find them on Facebook, X, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. So go check them out. And then wrapping up with our professional sports, not a ton of new news as far as the Wild and the Wolves are concerned, but we did get a couple of questions tonight. A couple of questions tonight that we will address before we get into the Vikings and wrap up for the night. So with that, from the bottom of my heart, I am sorry. I had my schedule for this, our upcoming schedule for our live streaming Wolves, Vikings, and Wild game. I don't know why I put it in my backpack going to work today, but I managed to put it in my backpack and forget it there, and I don't want to butcher anything. I think I remember the first couple games, but I don't want to butcher anything. So once again, please, I don't know if we'll just post it or if I'll come on and talk through the games and then post it on like a second page from that. But within the next week, I will post that for you guys. I'm super excited. We're going to start off kind of simple. I can tell you this. We're doing one game. We're doing one game in November for the Vikings, one game in November, one game in December, and then we are going to do the final game against the Packers. We just don't know date and time yet on that one. But the plan is for November and December to do 3 or 4 total games between between the Wild and the Wolves, and then once the playoffs start, doing so, what would that be? January, February, March, those three, kind of probably doing anywhere from at least 2, maybe 4 apiece. But like I said, I do apologize. I will get this out, and you guys will know. I know I've had 2 or 3 people reaching out to me at least saying they really like the stream or little stream I did for the Atlanta and the Chargers game. So we will be doing more. I promise you guys that. So question time. So the first question we got, as far as the Wild are concerned, comes from our good friend on Instagram, Gabe Weber. And Gabe wants to know, Jack, what is the Wild's biggest issue right now, and what's the cause for their slow start? And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna lie, that is a very, very, very good question, Gabe. For a little bit of a reference point, the Minnesota Wild are currently the second worst team in the Central Division with 13 points, currently sitting at 5-7-3, just 15 games into the season here. The nice thing is we're only 5 points out of the third spot in the division. Excuse me. So it's not like we're 20 points, 10 plus points back from a bunch of teams. Nobody, like the Colorado Avalanche are number 1 right now, and we're only separated by them by 8 points. So we definitely need to start stringing some games together here. They did against the Canucks and Predators, and then earlier tonight just kind of had an unfortunate game against the Hurricanes in a night 1 of a back-to-back, so hopefully they can turn it around tomorrow night. But to answer your question, Gabe, I know it sounds cliche and I've talked about this before, but I think it really comes down to these 2 things that we've already talked about before, and it really is their lack of efficiency playing 5-on-5 hockey. And with that being said, also the lack of depth help. So after I said those first things too, let's just look in on 5-on-5 hockey. So in the first 5 games of the season, our power play was so good. Power play was so good that we are currently right now number 3 in the entire NHL in power play percentage, 31.5, and first in the league with 17 power play goals. Now, to put that in perspective, through our first 15 games, we have only scored 39 goals. So our 17 goals on the power play are already accounting for over 43% of our goals. So we need to figure out how to play better 5-on-5 hockey. And I think that in playing better 5-on-5 hockey, and we saw the start of that happening tonight. They lost 4-3 to the Hurricanes, and 2 of those 3 goals came 5-on-5. Matt Boldy got one of them. Brock Faber got the other one. But I think you're not seeing, and I feel bad bringing up the lack of depth, but that has been one bright spot for the Wild the last couple of years here. So I think we're not playing great 5-on-5 hockey, and when your top 2 lines aren't playing great on 5-5 hockey, you're not seeing your third and fourth liners really get that much time out on the ice. So I think once we kind of figure out how to play better 5-on-5 with those top 6-7 forwards, maybe that means you're switching up lines, things like that. You're able to play more guys a little bit more confidently. But right now, that's just not the case. So if you're John Hynes, you're trying to get your top guys out there to figure their shit out and figure it out so that you can give more time to everybody else and make life easier on those guys. So, and just to give you guys a little bit of perspective on this, you talk about lack of depth. You got Kirill Kaprizov, Matt Boldy, Marcus Johansson, Marco Rossi, Vladimir Tarasenko, Zeev Buium, and Joel Eriksson. 6 of those 7 players I just mentioned are our top 6 forwards, and they're all in the top 6-7 for points. So the bottom line is we need more help from those guys. But again, they're not going to get that time unless we're figuring it out 5-on-5. So they kind of go together a little bit. But it is important, and they got to figure that out. Before we move on to the Wolves here, the Minnesota Wild will be in action a couple of times this upcoming week. So, like I said, tomorrow night they got game 2 of a back-to-back. They'll be in New York taking on the Islanders at 6. Sunday at 7 p.m. they'll be back home for a game against Calgary before getting a visit from the San Jose Sharks on November 11th, hoping to avenge that 6-5 overtime loss that came from Macklin Celebrini. So that's what we have for the Wild. And then kind of similar to the Wild, not really any groundbreaking rules or groundbreaking news from the Wolves, but we did get another question this time against the rules that we'll talk most about this time. So this time, our other friend on Instagram, Keith, wants to know, Jack, Ja Morant, should the Wolves go get him? And I am going to keep this simple. No, we should not. Jack, do you understand how talented he is? I understand how talented he can be, but there's two main things about this for me. One, you're talking about adding a guy like Ja Morant to a team that's been to back-to-back Western Conference Finals. The Timberwolves don't need to make another blockbuster trade. Despite what you're hearing, I think Tim Connolly is smart. I think Tim Connolly is well aware that he doesn't need Ja Morant and he shouldn't want Ja Morant. What the Wolves need to do is just keep on the ship. They were without Anthony Edwards for a couple games, and truthfully, they should have done better in those couple games that they didn't have him, because they're still a good team without him. They're not their normal team nonetheless, but they just got to keep this going. Finch has got to do a good job and a good job and a little bit better of a job developing the young guys. Behringer, Jalen Clark, Terrence Shannon Jr., Rob Dillingham. Like, as the season goes on, we've talked about it before, you can't play Connolly 20 games, 20 minutes a night. You just can't. You have to start playing some of these younger guys. So that's the bottom line. So once again, two reasons why we shouldn't, Keith. One, don't broke what's not don't fix what's not broke. Sorry. Don't fix what's not broke. And what I mean by that is this is a team that's coming off of 2 back-to-back finals appearances. We don't need him. When you have a guy that's like Anthony Edwards that your offense runs through, you don't need another ball dominant player, despite how much we may need a point guard. We don't need that. And the second reason, the off-court shit. Like, the last thing the Minnesota Timberwolves this team needs is somebody who's going to go off to Deja Vu and bring 3 guns with him and bring his posse and, light up Minneapolis. Like, we just don't need that in our locker room. We have a good group of guys. Like, you see them talking and conversing and playing and building off each other when they're winning and having fun. There's no need to do anything crazy. Now, should one of the guys go down on an injury or something like that, fine, maybe you go get something to tide you over until they come back. But for the time being, we don't need a guy like that. And quite frankly, I think because I think at this point, it's inevitable he's going to get traded. But at this point, I firmly believe the team that ends up getting him is not going to be better off with him. They just won't be, because as good as he is, I think he's more of a cancer than people realize. So thank you for the question, Keith. No, I don't think we should get him. And no, I don't think we're ultimately going to get him as well. Wrapping up with our Minnesota Vikings, we're going to address the question really quick, and then we'll kind of get into last week's theme here. But the last question we have for you guys comes from our buddy on YouTube, Jimmy Gino, and he says, yo, do you think the Vikes made the right move by not making any trades at the deadline? That is a fantastic question, Jimmy. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. It was something I was going to talk about, then I kind of forgot to write it down until you brought it up. And let me put it this way. At first I was a little surprised that we didn't, maybe add another defensive back, or maybe get another decent offensive lineman for our carousel we got going on. So I was kind of surprised we didn't, kind of wish we would have. But the more I think about it, I think after that good win in Detroit against a good Lions team with JJ McCarthy at the helm. I think them not making a trade showed the team their level of confidence they have in this team going forward when we're healthy. And I think that gives your starting quarterback a lot of confidence. And I think that gives a lot of guys a lot of confidence in the locker room thinking, oh, am I going to get traded? Are we going to add somebody and am I going to get less reps? So do I think we made the right move? I really do think we do. I think kind of similar, Jimmy, to the questions that Keith asked. I think on paper we have one of the better, I don't know if I want to say the best, but one of the better rosters in the NFL. I think I wouldn't put us in championship contenders, but this team is definitely at the level of making the playoffs and winning a game or two. Probably, I think the ceiling for this team is making it to the NFC Championship game. I think right now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Rams, and the Eagles are playing very well football. That if we were to see any of those three teams in the championship game as of right now with just how we look versus how they look, I think we would lose to all three of those teams in the in an NFC championship game. But with that said, I think we have a solid team. We have good guys around us. I was glad to see us not move Jordan Addison if we do decide to move on from him and not extend him. I am a believer that should happen maybe this off season or during next year during the season. So I'm glad we didn't do it this year. But yeah, all in all, Jimmy, I think it was the right move. I think instilling some confidence in these guys, especially after getting back to 500, is a big deal because we got a lot of football left to play and a lot of tough games. Yeah, with that, what a game. Amazing we were able to come out of Detroit with the win, 4-4, and a perfect 2-0 in the NFC North thus far, which is awesome too. AJ, look, I'll be the first one to admit, AJ did not look incredible, but he didn't look shitty. Some really big passes and made some good decisions that helped the team ultimately win and get the job done. So super happy with the win, and you got to take the good with the good and the bad with the bad and learn from it, move on. So leading up to week 10, insane that we're already this far into the NFL season. But yeah, week 10 picks. Continuing to do good with our NFL picks. This last week we got a clean sweep, 3-0, putting us at 18-12 for the year with our NFL picks. So with that, let's just get into them. Excuse me. My upset I like New Orleans +5. Now wait a minute. Tyler Shook is showing something for the Saints this last week. I thought he did. And now it's up to their defense to keep them in games so that he can be a competitive passer. I think the Panthers are still all over the place, but this last week, the running game and defense are setting in as their strong identities. Should Bryce Young play through some goo-goo much? I think it's going to be much. Excuse me. We're going to try power through this here. I don't have anything for me. I think it's going to be a relatively low-scoring game. I have the Panthers winning. I just don't think it's going to be by a lot. It'll be a 2, 3, or 4 point game as far as I'm concerned. Awesome. Okay. So then the lock of the week, like the Buffalo Bills, -9.5 over the Dolphins. Let's just keep this one simple. The Bills are rolling and the Dolphins are reeling. James Cook won't be slowed down from his march towards the league rushing title. Well, there seems to be less chance of Devon Chan getting the needed offensive support to keep up. Josh Allen, I think it just makes sure this rematch isn't close. And I think they dominate and at least win by 14. Then in the Vikings game, I'm gonna keep it simple. Vikings +4.5. You guys saw in the picks for this week. I believe we will win this game, but I also like this pick because if something does happen, I think this should be a close game. I think it should, just like that New Orleans game, should be a 3 or 4 point game. If all else fails. But I think JJ is going to be on a mission to show that, hey, I can come back and win 2 statement games here. And put us over 500, getting a big statement game against a team, who is playing good football. You got Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry on the other side, getting things done and playing good football. So give me the Vikings +4.5 to wrap up our 3, like I just call our NFL weekly picks. Then kind of getting into this Vikings game. So week 10 against the Baltimore Ravens, I got us winning this one. 34-30. Yeah, like I said, I think the bright spot this last week was stopping the run game, and I think KOC is going to do a really great job of trying to keep and make Lamar Jackson one-dimensional, and I think that'll be a key there in keeping him in check, similar to what we did with Goff. So with that, on the offensive side of things, I like JJ McCarthy to lead this offense to 4 touchdown drives. I think a win is definitely going to begin with McCarthy, especially with him having a high level of confidence after his winning performance in Week 9. And I think this team is motivated after getting that big win, building a winning record, getting back into the NFC playoff structure. McCarthy can spread the ball around to JJ, Jordan Addison, tight ends like TJ Hawkinson and Nick Muse, Aaron Jones, Adam Thielen, all of those guys. So I anticipate him probably rushing for another one, throwing for maybe 1 or 2, and then seeing the running backs get 1 or 2. And then on the defensive side of the things, I like us to force at least 2 turnovers. You saw the defense being aggressive this last week, and I think we thrive and do really well when we get after the quarterbacks. We disrupt the backfield, and again, that's integral because doing that, we showed once again last week that if we can get the quarterbacks uncomfortable and in that backfield early, we really put the pressure on them to throw into tight coverages. And, we got guys like Metellus, Cashman, Harrison Smith to come up with interceptions and stuff like that. Just like we got guys like Cashman, Metellus, Smith to force fumbles and all that fun stuff on the other side of the ball too. So, like I said, got the Vikings to win 34-30. JJ McCarthy in that offense JJ McCarthy to lead the offense to 4 touchdown drives and the defense to force at least 2 turnovers this upcoming game. We're trending on our in-game picks. We're now 3-13. Our defense did sack Goff at least 3 times. We sacked him 5. So let's pick it up and go 2-0 this week and go 5-13. How does that sound? So yeah, that's what we got. And then lastly for you guys, our other picks for week 11 week 10. First and foremost, I like the Ravens and Vikings game to actually go over 49.5 points. I told you guys I think it's going to be 34-30. I think this is going to be an abundance of points in this game. And then I like the Seahawks to cover 7 points against the Cardinals. I think Darnold and this team is playing really good, but more so I think because Jacoby Brissett is playing and not going to do well in Seattle. So give me Seahawks -7. I like the Jaguars to beat a poor Houston, Texas team. So give me the Jags at -1.5. Another case of a good team playing against a backup quarterback in Marcus Mariota, and the Lions are going to be pissed off because they lost to the Vikings at home last week. So I anticipate the Lions beating the Washington Commanders by at least 10. And then the 49ers +3.5. Jack, what the heck? You had the Rams winning that game. I do, but once again, I think that's going to be a very close game. Joey made an incredible point on our mini pick'ems that Sean McVay does not do well against Kyle Shanahan. I anticipate it being a very close game, but I do think the LA Rams will end up winning it by a field goal, 23-20. So those are the 5 additional picks I got for you guys this week. Like always, reach out if you guys have any questions or topics that you want us to talk about on the podcast. Let us know if you'd like to be anonymous. We will respect that, but we do love shouting you guys out if you choose. And pay attention to our socials, specifically TikTok and Instagram, Facebook. We're also on X. Like I said, I will be posting our live streaming schedule here soon. And yeah, we got our first taste test of our 6-pack from Northern Soda Co. We got a lot of fun things coming up. Hope everybody had a fun and safe Halloween. And I'll leave you guys with, until next time, Minnie.